Welcome back, everyone, to the Hits Objective podcast, where we hit the objective and manifest the goals and dreams that we truly aspire for. Of course, I'm back here with Jonathan, and we're here to hit it off again with another grand topic. I'm hoping that you liked our video on AI and you being absurdly concerned about it. I hope that took off some, stress off your shoulders. But today we're going to be talking about something else, of course, obviously. And that is, are we looking at the results too soon? Often we are faced with this conundrum of being or feeling overwhelmed with, our thought processing or our time gauge on us assuming or getting towards or getting our successes complete. We sometimes face, demise with situations where our feelings are concerned, where we feel like, we're in a warp of a whirlwind of destruction internally and there's no way out. And today we're going to be talking about, are we looking for the results too soon? Are we looking at the results too soon? And I think, of course, John might more than likely agree, as a direct combatant of looking at the results too soon, I think we ought to be looking at the process sooner. John, what do you think about looking at the process sooner? I mean, don't you think that's a general problem that we have, that we're always faced with this phase of just kind of wanting to gratify ourselves immediately and not necessarily having the wit and the grind and the grit to go through the process?
Well, first, hello everybody. Thank you very much, Michael. It's not a pleasure to be on this show with you, and that it's objective. I hope you like, as Michael said, the previous episode, do not hesitate, to tell us what you think and engage with us. If you have any question, we'll be more than happy to answer that for sure. But to answer to your question, Mikey, I think, a lot of the time we get stuck in the process because we tend to plan way too much. And I am somebody that used to plan a lot, really, really and truly a lot. And the thing is, I think we tend to envision too much, what will be the next step, instead of actually, really and truly focusing on what we have to do now that can change in a positive manner our situation or lead us to better advancement in our project. So so that's basically my answer to that. But aside from that, Mikey, how would you see maybe this regarding its objective?
Well, you see, first thing is, I think we have to come from a space of self-knowledge, because a lot of the times what we tend to do is overextend ourselves, because we believe that being successful takes quote unquote hard work. Now, a scholar, John, an academic, maybe someone who was born in a military house background or somewhere where there's strict discipline, would tell you that hard work does pay off, because it does. So, arguably, this is a very interesting topic, because one could concur as well that planning ahead really does actually get you goals. It really does get your goals succeeded, and it really does actually allow you, you could say, a proper platform for being able to hop onto the next step confidently, because it would have already been prefabricated for you. So I think it's a question, really, John, of knowing oneself, and really that boils down to understanding your core inner spiritual energy, who you are, and what makes you work. How does Jonathan Gasse, be Jonathan Gasse to his fullest degree? Now, you cannot be Bill Gates. We always talk about Bill Gates. It's so crazy. I'm gonna get this guy out of my mind. You cannot be you cannot be Jeff Bezos. Microsoft, we still love you because we use your shit. We use your equipment, and so it does definitely help us. But the whole point is, Michael Anthony has a different way of operating. Jonathan Gasse has a different way of operating, and sometimes you might have a cognitive level that's more in line with something more creative, something more like John. I move on a level where I have to be kind of inspired. Of course, I love planning because I believe structure is absolutely necessary to understand your core purpose in what you're doing, and extensively where you see yourself being with that thing. Because the truth is, with manifesting your goals and dreams, envisionment is necessary, John. You kind of have to see yourself being that person before you're that person, so you can find the ways that you need to get to be that person. You understand? It's almost as if it's just like a recipe, and then this is a conversation you and myself have had maybe 1,000 times. That you want to bake corn pie. What is corn pie? You first need to know what that is. Why do you want it? You may have had it before, but the point is, that the end result looks like a lovely casserole dish baked, golden brown up the top. Question is now, what does it take to get corn pie? Now, a question of getting to the corn pie is where your personality comes in, John, because they might have one person might figure, I really want corn pie, but I don't have the access to get to maybe the cheese. I probably can't get the cheese. And maybe that person might just stay at that point and never get the cheese and never assume that corn pie. Maybe someone else might figure, let me call my grandmother, let me call my father, let me see who I could reach out to. Let me use my resources to see how I can get the corn pie. The whole point of this is, John, irrespective of what kind of discipline that you hold, mainly from your background of childhood getting into adulthood, because this is what would have been the base foundation of you making decisions, of you applying yourself in the world. You have to understand who you are on a soul level, because for some people, going and reading a book every single night will not let them pass the exam. Maybe for that person, it's just about internalizing what the teacher is saying in class, and maybe that way they're able to be resourceful enough to, retain all of that information and then still go past the exam. Basically, what I'm saying is we're all different, and in its most core form, you have to know who you are to apply yourself into the things that you want to do. So for me, and maybe for you, which I've realized because we've been friends for some time, we don't necessarily have to plan heavily around something to see it through. We just require a certain level of inspiration, and it doesn't necessarily always have to be with a spliff or some really good alcohol. It could just merely be through us internalizing, doing some retrospective thought, maybe going by the beach, John, maybe connecting with Mother Earth, maybe having a really good conversation with someone, and then that could instantly spark some action in you. So in that sense, just to answer your question regarding Hit Subjective, I have seen, and from the conceptualization of this, and believe you me, guys, if you're watching, myself and John spent hours in meetings, 4 hours, sometimes 5 hours, sometimes talking this through, doing up documentation about the podcast, and it was all worth it, mind you. But what we really had to do at that point of knowing what we wanted, because we had already envisioned where we wanted the podcast to go. And even with your envisionment, guys, that could change, and John always speaks of this thing that we call micro adjustments, which I'm sure he's going to touch base on today. And it's what takes you to your next step. So it's kind of like just starting. If you look at the first episode of His Objective, it's about starting. And I'm telling you, it's about starting, and then you realize what's required for the next step. And that might not apply to everyone. Maybe for some of you, you might have to go ahead and, draw up the whole plan ahead of time and, ensure that all of your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted, because that's the way you assume success. That's the way you've been taught, and that's the way you understand, and that's what works for you. But more so, John, to answer your question, it's about knowing what works for you. That's really the only way you can course through the experience of not really seeing these results, but knowing that what you're doing, ideally, John, will inevitably get you to these results. That's what I think it is. So, we went through that hurdle, John, where we were trying to be on this, we were trying to make it very technical. We were trying to be very on point, guys. We did research. John came to me for a lot of different information on statistics, on analytics, on getting our message out. But you see, the truth is, we're inspired not by all of these facets of creation. We're inspired by inspiring you. And that's what we're doing today, So John, that really is my answer to your question. But what was your feeling, John, in our development and alignment of the podcast and of this program? How would you say that you thought about it from the onset when it comes to the results of this podcast? And then with you now being on your second episode already in a matter of 1 week, what do you say? What changed for you, John, mentally? And then what do you think is your main takeaway from that change?
All right, Mikey. Well, first of all, like, so interesting topic, but you'll probably have to like tell me again all these questions, but I have all of them in mind. But so interesting, honestly. Like, it's like you saw it from so much different spectrum. You know, I just want to react very fast to what you just said.
Certainly.
Because
you have time, bro.
Yeah, bro. But basically, you know, it's you talk about like authenticity, you talk about, you know, recipe, you talk about like what will you put from yourself, you know, into this to actually, you know, make it happen. You're talking about, you know, like some, you know, over planning stuff, especially like, and I completely recognize that, and that's why I appreciate your question. I used to think, and I went through that, guys, like probably you'll go through that as well. Maybe, you know, but I mean, you know, it's worth the experience. You know, you want to create something, you want to go for one particular project, and I did that with a lot of projects. But you know, you're saying, okay, I have this idea, therefore I have this vision, and in a logical manner you're trying to build each step toward that vision, especially when you never like accomplish a project, you know. And we went through that so much, and I wouldn't say today, even in my life, I accomplished a project to its full extent. Hopefully it will come, but I just start stuff, fail, try to micro adjust, as Mikey said, because like I will come back to it a little bit later, but that's what like can help you a lot, you know, instead of like over planning stuff. But just to finish on that, for its objective, I came to Mikey and I said, you know, we need to do this, we need to do that. Here is like each of our roles, etc., etc. And the thing is, like, it took a year for us to be on 2 episodes consecutively, because first of all, I went on another project, and because on my hand, I probably like over complexify a particular system, which like they need a lot of parameters for it to even start. Whereas it's all about starting, as Mikey said, and as like it's the first episode of its objective, and I deeply encourage you to watch it up. But it's all about the starting point, you know. And so the thing is, during this entire year, I opened a hotel bar restaurant. I planned a lot of things. Nothing went the way I wanted it. You know, I opened it with my girlfriend. You know, we made some money, we had some revenue, but we lost it all because of poor financial management. Because we, in a period of time where we should have exclusively like execution, we were planning way too much, and then we run out of time to actually like you know just do the action, etc., etc. But the thing is, we had issues as well because the building had like strong maintenance problem. But you know, we were it had a lot of precipitation, like in the process. And the thing is, this taught me, you know, when you want to do something, you know, when you want to start a project, it's not about like over planning and say tomorrow I'll start, because matter of fact, most likely life is going to happen and you will not be able to start something because of another element that come on your way, that come on your plate, you know. And the thing is, like on myself, for example, I'm a multi-interest person, and I know Mikey is as well, and I know we are a lot out there, you know, like everywhere in the world that, you know, have like multiple interests. And you know, society tell you, you need to specialize and learn this and learn that and stick to that plan, and you know, you have ideas for this and that, etc. And you're all over the place. But at the end of the day, like having ideas is great, and it's hard to, you know, focus ideas in one particular spot. But as another like famous YouTuber, you know, Alex Almost is saying, And cheers to that guy, because honestly, a very interesting topic. Like, check it out if you want one day. But you know, when you try to fill one cup, you know, you need, like, it's easier to like to fill it completely, to fill this cup completely, and like use this cup, you know, to fill another one, you know, instead of trying to like fulfill two cups at the same time. You know, you will lost. And I mean, diversification, don't take me wrong, is a great thing, but remember, the roots start like that and then it divide. It's not like divide and then you have that. I mean, it comes like that as well, because if you look at the pattern of a flower, it's like that, you know. First come the unity, then diversification, then unity again, etc., etc. And that's how create like the branch pattern, you know. We talk about that, but yeah, just to answer to your question, you know, Mikey, I really think the real difference, you know, from a year before, because it took us a year, you know, to be like, one more time, like, you know, to do that, and that's why you can learn from that, fellas. You know, if you are on a project, you know, don't lose, you know, I mean, faith into doing things. You know, allow yourself one more time to fail. I will tell you that, like, one more time.
Right.
But you know, it's just about, you know, just starting things and remain it like in a simple manner. Like a couple days earlier with Mikey, we were talking about, like, you know, how could we do these videos in a simple manner, and we just like saying, okay, well, you know, let's just do 4 weeks straight up of videos, you know, and we'll see, you know, how we can structure it, like bring some micro adjustment, you know. What is micro adjustment? It's as simple as what we did today, you know. Last time we recorded that video, you know, Michael, I was not able like to provide to Michael like the you know, the feedback of my camera because of like small technical issues, and we recorded anyway, and you know, it actually worked out. I mean, we made it work out, you know.
We hit the objective. Certainly.
We hit the objective, you know. We hit the objective, because one more time, it's very important what Mike is saying, you know. Like, it's not about like hitting a giant objective. You will hit hopefully a giant objective at some point. I wish you that, guys, honestly. But like, you need to start first from hitting the objective that is in front of you, which is a baby step toward where you are right now.
That is right. And I've told them a million times about these baby steps, John. I've told them, you know what? A lot of the times we like to bite off more than we can chew, man. You know, you want to walk before you can crawl. That doesn't make any sense. Now, a lot of the times it's because merely, John, we like to look at the other guy. You know, it's because of comparison between you and another person, which I believe can be completely positive and completely enriching if you look at you more. Like, you could look at to someone else for inspiration, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, if you're in your phases of crawling, crawl your hardest, boy, so you can eventually walk your hardest, then you can run your hardest in your truth. You know, right now we have this thing we're doing with some guys, John. We have a push-up crew. I've told the masses about this already. And basically, the challenge is 60 push-ups a day, right? Now, the truth behind this is we don't really know if everyone is doing the 60 push-ups because there's no record of it as in physical, you know, as in we cannot see you doing the push-ups, but we have a WhatsApp group, and basically everyone has to like say done in the group, DONE, as in they've completed their push-ups for the day. And it started off like as a very basic, I thought, John, that this would have been the simplest thing to do. 60 push-ups a day, piece of cake. Turns out it's not, brother. And I found myself at one point having a backlog of 330 push-ups, which I did of course do because, again, you have to know yourself. And for some reason, I have this thing about me that whenever I'm under pressure and I've made promises, I just have to, you know, I have to see them through. So that almost gives me an additional sense of energy at the end of it all that allows me to push through these challenges. And I'm hoping that energy stays there until my last days. But the truth is, again, going back to it, John, we often compare ourselves with the other guy. And because of that, it's a huge deterrent when it comes to you, again, knowing yourself, having that self-introspection, being able to understand that John is just not a morning guy. You know, you just say, you know what, I know myself. I will not operate best on a morning. So I would prefer doing my most You know,
in fact, I'm a morning guy, guys, just to let you
just
know.
to let you, he's a morning guy, right? So I was just tooting a horn that didn't have to be tooted for a second there. But
No,
using
you're
John
right,
as
you're right. We completely get what you're saying. For sure, it could be John or anybody else, of course.
exactly, but not John. All right, he's a morning guy. You better know that, and don't forget it. So at the end of the day, it's about you being able to understand yourself wholesomely, holistically, so that you can make the next step in progress, not by shunning your own becoming, your own being, because someone else has done it differently or has done it quote unquote better. The term better, John, I believe is only applicable to oneself, as in nothing else can be better than you except for you. You understand? You are your biggest competitor at all times. You are the one who is navigating through these results that you are looking for and that you're trying to get towards so quickly, and you're trying to, grapple from the cosmos. Guys, allow the cosmos to work for you and through you. Don't try to work against what's happening already. You need to be a part of the process. And it just goes back to what this is. It's about appreciating the process.
So important.
Absolutely,
so important,
brother.
yeah.
They need to appreciate the process.
Precisely. The path.
That's right.
The path. You need to accept the path. Like it's so true what you are saying, Mikey. And the thing is, sorry to cut you.
Go right ahead, bro.
As you said, the path is so important. We tend to focus a lot on the destination, which is totally valid, because when you're doing an exercise of visualization, of course you need to at the end of the day be able to envision a particular place where you want to go, to actually go there. And it's important, you could design that in your place, like in the terms of result, right? We're talking about results, so definitely like it's needed to know where you're heading, like where you're going, like, because for example, if I start a trek on the mountain and I'm trying to actually reach the top, I can envision myself being at the top. Does that mean like it erases the actual place? I mean, does it mean it erases actually the winning of going there? No. For sure, like the process is playing a huge role there, because at the end of the day, as Mikey said, you can really and truly enjoy the process. And even though sometimes it's painful, you're not looking for the pain, you are looking for the process, to teach you the next step. And that's what all micro adjustment is about. And the thing is, to come back to the example of the mountain, what is very like, that's why I like analogy, like you making comparison between what you could experience in the nature and actually like transfer the pattern you learn from this experience you have into another type of project you want to accomplish. The thing is, one more time, for this hike, you want to actually get on top, but you need to walk it step by step. And the mountain is a place, of humility. If you are not, going humbly with the mountain, you will, with not humbly, like probably humility with the mountain, if you're not humble enough, probably the mountain will crush you down. That's what we see, like when fellas go on the Everest, sometimes people reach there, sometimes people fall, and any other mountain. But why I'm saying that is because it's the same with the process, and that's why it's so important to accept the failure, because you see, failure is not like that's the end of the game. It's not game over. Failure is like you can try again, and you do not have like limited, like in a video game, you have limited life. You do not have limited life. You can fail so many times. In a game you cannot fail. Sometimes you go play a game, you have like free life. I'm not really a game player, but like from what I remember back in the days, like that's what it used to be. But anyway, just to say, one more time, like the process is something that is really connected to who you are, and you'll be able to one more time, transfer what you learn from one side of your life to another. And results really, and that's why I want to go like on the results side, you know, because you see, results, one more time, to take a nature example. Imagine you have a garden. Now you plant different type of crops. You're planting carrots, you're planting lettuce, and you're planting a mango tree, an apple tree. Obviously, there's in your garden, like the trees are going to take longer to produce fruits if you plant a apple seed or a mango seed. It's going to take years to actually provide you with a fruit. But from the time you have a tree, you have fruits for life each season, you know. With the lettuce, with the cabbage, with the tomatoes, you will have faster results. But if there is a parasite in your garden, it will get eaten and it will be much more fragile than a tree, because it's a matter of roots. The roots of a tree is much bigger than the roots of a tomato tree. And that's all fine. They can connect together, they can interact together, being planted in the same soil very close to each other. But it's just that, like, if you transfer that knowledge to your own knowledge, right, to your own life, there are some seeds you can plant with which you get results very fast, and others that take, you know, long time to provide you with fruits. So that's why you should not look at the result. For example, for each objective, should we look at the metrics right now? I would say yes and no, and in the same time, not as yet. Why? Because, like, if it will provide us like a overview, but you need to first focus on, you know, providing the right garden, the right environment for the seeds to grow. The same way what we are talking about, you know, with the trees, and that's what we're trying to do right now. You know, like being on this new era, maybe I would say, of its objective, like second phase. You know. Because we're just trying to, as much as Michael did priorly, and he did great, you know, he prepared the soil for what's going on right now. We prepared the soil together before we Vin, him and I, and now we're preparing the soil together with Mikey for something else, because that's what you can do. You can't be only in your life the gardener of your own seeds. Your seeds are your project, right? But of course, if you never plant a seed, you will be like a beginner farmer, and please accept that, and it's all fine, because somebody that's keep on maintaining project on a very long term can be on an easier manner manage a higher level of project. And that's why, you know, even though you have like multi, you know, side of yourself, multi interests, which I am as well, as we like start with that, you know, and Mikey is as well, like a lot of other people. You need to start with a one plan first. So yeah, that's basically. I know I went probably all around. But
no, but John, honestly, like, I appreciate your perspective on that. And I think what I want to touch base on with your whole analogy, and guys, I love analogies as well, because it really shows a definitive understanding between you and nature all around you, that you're a part of this, that every single happenstance is because of one, and that we are all connected, even with the plants and the very, you know, marine life and the life that's all around us. So you made special mention of something, John, during your plant analogy, and then you said that if there are parasites, the parasites may, of course, you know, be more destructive to the plants with the smaller roots. I want to touch base on that, guys. If there are parasites, guys, some of us have parasites in our lives. And when I say that, I know a lot of you are thinking, yeah, he's definitely talking about the bad mind people. No, guys, I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about you too. I'm talking about the fact that you have limiting beliefs. These are parasites. These are parasites regarding your short-term goals and your long-term goals. John spoke on failure and accepting it, and then that's something that you have to do extensively throughout this journey that we're going through in life. You have to be able to accept failure wholesomely. Guys, fail forward. It's so important, because the failure is inevitable. Why? Because You don't know everything, number one. So you're not omniscient like the very energy that created everything around us. And number two is that shit happens. Okay? So you're definitely going to fail at some point because you don't have control over everything. So even if you knew everything, even if you knew that a typhoon or a hurricane was coming to your home right now because you had that awareness, you still would not be able to stop it. But what would you be able to do? You would be able to prepare yourself. And that's why I always tell people, preparedness is peace, guys. Preparedness is peace. You need to weed out the parasites in your life. John spoke on parasites, and I really want you guys to start to look at yourself, not as a parasite, but look at yourself as an ever-growing, ever-changing being, and that there are things that you do, and that there are thoughts that you conjure that are not necessarily working in your favor. So it's important for you now, as an individual, to be again, be that person that's, I really don't want you to be that person, but I want you to put your life under a microscope sometimes. Okay, so I'm not saying, guys, to overanalyze every single fucking thing you do. I'm not saying that you have to overanalyze everything that other people do. I'm just saying that there are times that you need to put your life under a microscope in order for you to understand the deep nature of who you are. So again, you can lead on to what John spoke on heavily, which is the micro adjustments. Because how are you going to make these micro adjustments without weeding out these parasites? You know what's going to happen? The same thing is going to happen. You're going to start making the micro adjustment for one day, and then before you know it, by tomorrow, you're back where you started from, or even worse, right, John? That's what it is, bro. So again, it's weeding out the parasites. A number one parasite, guys, in your life is going to be a limiting belief. Avoid limiting beliefs, guys. You want to know why? Because anything is possible. You want to know why anything is possible? Look at the wider world around you. Look at the wider world around you, my friends. Anything is possible. We have planes in the sky, aeroships and in space, right, John? There's so much going on right now. We were talking about artificial intelligence just the other day, right? So why limit yourself and think that maybe you're just this person? And yes, Michael, I did look into myself and I realized that I was a piece of shit. Well, guess what? You realize that you're a piece of shit. Do you want to change it? If that's what you're going to tell yourself, then maybe you have a lot to work on. So it means that you need to start making micro adjustments, and more so micro adjustments that you can work with. Not John's micro adjustments or Michael's micro adjustments. If it takes, and John and myself were talking about this in the pre-video, if it takes you just making a centimeter of a change in your life today, it will mean a meter of change for you tomorrow. I'm telling you. And that's just what it is. In life, it's about doing what you can while you can. Okay? So please, guys, failure extensively is a part of the process. It really isn't something that's, it's not, it's like this God and the devil thing. God and the devil, God and the devil. How would you know that you're a great person if you were not tested? How would you know that if you're a good person if you were not put in positions where you could be a bad person, right, John? That's why life really subscribes to contrast. John, tell us about contrast a little more.
Absolutely.
In your perspective.
You could be like as the adage was saying, like you could be in somebody great story and somebody else bad story. So obviously, you are a face of the duality. But please go ahead, Mike.
That's what it is, guys. You're a face of the duality, and again, that's exercising wholesomely who you are. All right, it's not negating the part of you that's going to say no to someone, or negating the fact that maybe some days you feel lazy. Well, guess what? If you feel lazy 24 hours and you require 48 hours of work, well, you could feel lazy, but then the next time you put in 36 hours of work. Why? Because it's what's required. Can you do it? If you can, you go ahead. Again, work with your skills, your talents. Work with the uniqueness that is you. You are so unique, and there is a workaround. There's this saying, John, that God never gives you more than you can bear. The right? You know that saying, right? Yeah, brother. You know, God doesn't give you more than what you can bear. So at the end of the day, it's about understanding that the great architect of this universe has bestowed with you or upon you, you know, plans and proceeds that will aid you in your great rising. You know what I'm saying? It's about believing again, it's not about not believing. It's about believing that there is a way out of the tunnel that you're going through, that dark path that you're going through, that process that you're going through, right, John? Because John, when you were going through that situation with, you know, the hotel that you were managing and stuff like that, and you know, John was going through a tunnel, honestly, and you know, I kept on talking to John all the way through, and if it's one thing that I could appreciate about him is irrespective, and I think that maybe this is something that a man has to have, John, stoicism. You know, I think that being a stoic, yeah, bro, I feel that guys, you know, guys, if you're listening, if you have a penis between your legs and you're hearing this, you know, stoicism, guys, you know, always be strong, even if you feel weak. That's what it's about, right, John? It's about putting your best foot forward, even in the face of trepidation and in the face of failure. And guys, John always greeted me with a smile. He always had a brighter side, you know, and then that's what it is, guys. We're all going through the shit right now, right, John? We're all in the shit in some way or form. One of you out there right now is going through a really bad relationship. One of you right now is going through lonesomeness. One of you, and you see the duality again, John. Someone could be in a relationship with someone, and there's someone who just wants to be with anyone. You see what we're dealing with. You know, we're all going through shit at the same time. But again, it's about managing your uprising, you know, being that person that truly loves yourself and that, like John was saying, gives yourself the opportunity to fail, guys. Okay, so failing again is a part of the greater process of uprising. You know, it has nothing to do with the results. It has nothing to do with who's trying to foil the results for you. It's all about you, what you can do, what you want to do, and what you're about to do. And don't worry about the about to do, because it's coming next to theaters near you once you do what you have to do, you know? And that's what it is, John. So, I mean, I feel like setting results for yourself is, again, a great process in itself, because how would you get to the result if, you know, you don't have a platform of an understanding of what you need to do to get to it? But guys, focus. And I know that this is so cliche. I say it all the time. You've heard this a million times. Focus on the process. Trust the process. Yes, trust the process. It is true, guys. You have to trust the process. You know, you have to trust the process. To resonate with that heavily, guys, I would tell you guys to look at my I think it was our second video, and it's labeled as, you know, navigating the lonely in between. And to be honest with you guys, if you look at that
Absolutely.
video,
Go check
that one out.
Very,
all right,
very
you could just hit the link and don't forget the notification bell. I'm only gonna say this once. All right, check out that video. You see, navigating the lonely in between, John, is the process of getting into the process. You see what it is, right? And
absolutely, you know, you need to know how to think before you start.
That is
to
correct,
think,
bro. It's a system of pragmatism, and in truth and in fact, it really starts in the most basic ways. Again, by, like I said the last time, being kind to yourself. John, there's no way you're gonna get through any hurdle. Guys, there's no way you're gonna get through any hurdle in life if you don't have a sense of compassion for yourself. Because, you know, if you believe that, right, John? Because if you don't, it means that you're grossly discrediting the fact that you're human. You're grossly discrediting the fact that you're a growing being, that you're an ever-changing being, and also the fact that you are capable of a lot more than you think you are. And that's what it is. So being kind to yourself is ultimately, I believe, the starting point, John, you know, for that process. Because you have to be able to accept yourself in all forms and ways. You need to accept who you are. If you're a drug addict, if you're a prostitute, if you're a murderer, whoever you are, be kind to yourself first. Because a lot of the times, John, the world is not going to be kind to you, even if you're a good person. So good or bad, you're going to get some shit along the way, right? That's why the love starts from within, you know, and I feel that's the only way you can emanate that love outwardly is if you start within. So I believe it's being kind to yourself, right? Finding things that could positively adhere to your goals and dreams. So guys, just about a year ago, I started doing push-ups. Now I'm doing a 5-kilometer run, 5 to 8 kilometer run every week. Like, it's because, again, I'm gearing towards, yeah, man, big up me and big up anyone who's trying to do something that's good for themselves. Because, John, that's what it's about. You know, you start to develop an ecosystem of positive habits, right? So you start to just do good things for yourself, man. Start eating properly, you know, even if you're still doing the bad things. And I say this because life has a balance to it, and a lot of things are easier said than done. And I think more so than trying to retard the fact that you have certain issues or maybe deep connections with coping mechanisms, which is something we're going to speak on eventually. I think more so it is about trying to replenish the positive side of you and doing things that could really boost you in a positive way, whether it may be your health, your spirit, you know what I'm saying, your mental. Read some good books, John, you know, have some good conversations like we're doing right now. Listen to a good podcast. You know, a lot of you just out there listening to podcasts about men and women and you know, who's a hoe and who's not, and you know, who's, you know, like, I mean, again, I'm all in it for entertainment. I look at No Fugazi as well. I watch a lot of different podcasts as well.
Absolutely, bro. You know,
yeah,
you
man.
watch, like the entirely side of it, you know.
Precisely. But the point is, which side do you want to service you? And a lot of the times, guys, you know, the things you frequent is what's going to define who you are. You know, indirectly. You might not even notice it, but it's going to be affecting your subconscious. And so you need to start doing things that will be good for you. You know, go exercise, you know, sexercise, you know, go out there and do things that are going to actually get you in gear, get you moving properly so that you can get towards the next step, you know. And then, you know, the next step again is building a community, John. You know, you guys could go through the video again, but I'm saying this is just coming to me, you know, intermittently. I'm saying this. Get yourself around people that are on the same vibe as you, John. You know, that's how you go through the process. Because a lot of the times, John, I'm sure I could tell you guys a very quick story. And if John wasn't my friend, guys, if John wasn't my friend, guys, in 2020, COVID year, big up John, bro, and big up all my bros out there who've been there for me, like family, you know what I'm saying? If John wasn't there, and shout outs to his mother as well, you know, in 2020 for COVID, bros, sisters, I would have been in the deepest shit ever, right? You know, big up to my father as well, who helped me out with doing the taxi and everything. But I'm just saying that because I had John as a friend, that happened to give me an opportunity, right? And because of that, it allowed me and him to grow in such a way where we were responding to something that was very important at the time, which was food security. And you know, there was a lot of politics around it, and we can go into that later or maybe never. And so on and so forth, right, John? Yeah. But that allowed me the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. So much to say.
There's so much to say, guys. But that allowed me the opportunity to do street mic, to get out there, you know, into the public, doing some real research on food security, and it got me an opportunity.
We'll bring you some samples.
We will have to show you guys some. So you guys could react on it. We'll drop it on the page, and so you guys could see what it is, because we were doing some really good work, guys. Myself and John.
Yeah, we did a lot of interviews with Mikey. We were by the market. We were all over the street. You know, castries. You know, like all over the place.
Some great content, like, my friends. Great content, and I really love that opportunity to be in front of the camera. You know, and I was always telling John, you know, John, you need to get in front of the camera as well. John likes to be behind the camera because he's a cameraman himself, a creator himself, you know. But I told him, you know, John, you have a lot to say, you know, let's get in front of the camera. So at the end of the day, it boiled down to John's.
Hey, bro, honestly, it's thanks to you, bro. Like,
I mean, but you see,
like, it took me probably, like, I started videos in 2017, never putting things out to check, because I was just doing things for, you know, like other people just, you know, get like something out of it. And the thing is, like, it took me just to show you, you know, like, on this process, like, I'm 27 years old. I started like about like 8 years ago, so it took me like 8 years to be in front of the camera. And Mike, you know that, you know, real shit, bro. You know?
Although you were in front of the camera,
8 years.
Although you were in front of the camera once or twice in a music video. Right, I think you did a music
Yeah,
video.
once or
but,
twice.
you know,
like,
but you've had some very
for
valuable.
sure. You're
content.
right. You're right to say.
Yeah,
you're
bro.
right. You're right.
You know,
you're
but
right.
at the end of the
But
day,
just like to
do what you're doing right now.
Talk in front of the
That's
camera.
right,
Yeah.
brother. So you've come a great way, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm telling you guys, it's about
Yes, bro.
respect,
We got
brother.
bro.
Yeah, man. At the end of the day, you know, guys, it really just boils down to understanding that the results are really what you get from having impeccable behavior. It's what you get from putting your pieces together properly and accessing the things that will allow you to get to the next step, you know, within your parameters, whatever they are. If you want to set parameters for yourself, that is, you know, it's about understanding you for you and really doing a deep dive into who this person is and extensively who they can be, and not allowing anything to stop you in the midst of all of that. That's it, you know. John, you have anything to say before we close up? Anything, any enrichment of inspiration to give our listeners before we close off today?
Just to say, you know, looking at the result too soon, like sometimes it will just make you stuck in one particular position to react to what Mikey was saying at the beginning of the video. You know, you want to take out, you know, like the obstacles along the way. And one more time, it's what we call, you know, like the breadcrumb strategy. You know, you're just collecting extremely small victories, you know, and that's what allow you to go like from step to step. Because at the end of the day, like if you cannot see like daily small victories, then it's harder to push. You need to install into your process a small frame, you know, of like I would say a small frame of you know, of victory, because otherwise you missing like the constant fuel that will allow you to go actually like from process to process. Like for example, you're training for a sport, you're getting that result. Well, each time is better, you know, because you train more and more, you face to yourself like more and more to a particular experience, and that apply to whatever field you are doing in your life, you check. And you just need to experience, you know, you just need to, one more time, I will not say enough, but you know, allow yourself to fail, you check, but you need to learn from that lesson, and you need to see, okay, this time I tried that, it didn't work out. Okay, next time I tried something else. That's why I keep on talking about the recipe. You know, I really like, one more time, this analogy of the recipe, because it's very linked, you know, to what new ingredient and what portion of that ingredient in your life you're gonna play at that particular time. But coming back like to a down-to-earth vision regarding, you know, like the process and how you can get some results, you need to understand that discipline is a major key. And it's not about like, you know, applying discipline that, you know, that was brought to you through a systematic vision of discipline. It's more like a discipline with yourself, like a contract with yourself, where you are the own ruler that define your own rules, which are flexible rules, which will evolve along the way.
All right, guys. So thanks again for tuning in. Hit Subjective. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Tune in with us. Leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We just might hit you back.